Welcome to podcast 72 of the Pickleball Crew. We've been talking the last couple of weeks, just the four of us, about rating systems. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And Vicki, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I think that the big thing that we were talking about was how much people can be overly concerned about their rating. And, when you're signing up for tournaments or you're hosting tournaments and that sort of thing, of course, one of the first things people want to know is this getting reported to Duper? And, you understand that because people don't necessarily have that many opportunities. At least they don't think they have that many opportunities to get their scores up. But on the other hand, we also know that the accuracy comes in time. And sometimes it takes a lot longer for some of us than others. If you participate in a lot of tournaments, your accuracy score is going to be a lot higher than if you don't participate in tournaments all that often. But I guess the big question is, guys, is it good to worry about it, or is it not? And is it something that we should be overly concerned about?
I kind of think you have almost two types of people. You have people who are concerned about it because they want to improve. And, look, a rating system is a statistical way to show where you are. And that's the way to show improvement. You can feel like you're improving because you're getting more balls in play. But this is kind of a way of creating a little bit of a pecking order. And there's other people who don't care about their rating system. I don't want Duper. I don't want to know where I am. I just want to come out. I just got into this to have fun. I just want to come out and have fun. Sticking with the not so good about a rating system is, definitely puts pressure on people. And then you got some people who want to report a score and other people who don't want the score reported.
I think you hit it right on the head, Ken. To me, there's two different groups of pickleball players. There's the competitive side and the casual side. Mm-hmm. I play at a facility where nobody there is interested in Duper. We've talked about having Duper days and things like that. And as a group, they're just not interested. And they're casual pickleball players. They go more, I think, for the social and just the activity aspect of it than the competitive side. And then there's another group, like the group we play with at Pelican Park, who are very competitive, and it's important, how their rating is.
I was just going to say, and there's a few times when you've heard where people play in a tournament and they do get their initial rating, and their initial rating rates them much higher than where they really should be. And there's some false sense of, oh, I belong in 3-5 now. I'm going to start playing 3-5, even though they're really not 3-5 players. And again, understanding the length of time that it takes for it to become more accurate. But I think I see that as being also one of the downsides of people putting so much focus on it. They get that score, and in their mind, that makes them that level of player, and they may not be. And it's a false sense of security there.
To me, as a tournament player, if you think you should be playing in 4-0 or 4-5 and your Duper's low, it really doesn't matter, because you can play up in skill level. You could be a 3-5 and go play in 4-0 tournaments, and see where you shake out. So sometimes we get hung up on it, and it almost really doesn't matter. I mean, I've played in 4-0 and 4-5 tournaments. In the 4-0 tournaments, I have some success or finish middle of the pack. In the 4-5 tournaments, kind of finish middle of the pack or down below, with some not so good of finishes. But to get all hung up on your Duper rating, it's almost like a badge that people are looking to have. And then, like you said, Vicki, there's some players that come in, they start in at 3-5, and they don't play many tournaments, but they're very athletic, or they're a good tennis player, or they figure it out real quick, and quickly they move on up to, they're a 4-0 player or above, but their duper is still lagging behind because they don't have any matches put in, you know. So, you know, it's good in a sense once you get that reliability rating up to really know who you are. But if that reliability rating is still down, there can be a lot of fluctuation in whether if you're a really good player or not, not so good as far as a duper rating goes.
Now, I really think a rating system takes a lot of data to become accurate.
To settle it out,
And
yes.
just because you play a handful of matches against a 2-5 and 4-0 and a 4-5 and a 3-5, and then you see what your rating is and you're not happy with it, I think the software is trying to, it takes every one of your opponents that you just played that match against, and it looks also a little bit at their history and their reliability, and there's some secret sauce that goes into calculating your number. So I think you've got to just be patient, and it's over time when you have a larger set of data and your reliability goes up higher, that maybe it is kind of who you are. And if you want to move your rating up, then I think you have to play against people that are, have a higher rating than you, that will help facilitate, in my opinion, getting your rating up. You can play against people at your own level. If you beat them by a wider margin than the computer anticipates you, that you can also increase your rating. But I think one of the biggest issues of a rating system is people sandbagging. And coming from a tennis background where your rating was only adjusted once a year, it's around Thanksgiving, the USTA would adjust your rating based on your whole year's worth of work. And it would be like opening a Christmas present. People would be happy they were bumped up to the next level, or they'd be upset they were bumped up. And you even had people, knowing they did well during the year, that would sandbag a couple of matches, tournaments, just to try to stay at that current level because they didn't want to get bumped up. So that's kind of the downside of people putting too much emphasis on a rating system and trying to stay, in a certain window of rating.
Yeah,
I liked about Duper when they came up with their reliability,
go ahead.
score inside your rating. I have right now, I have a 2.9 Duper rating, but my reliability is 1%. So that just means that I think that tells current tournament directors and other people that, Bud Klein, it might be a little bit better than a 2.9, and he doesn't need to be down there with beginners. At least I hope that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, and that brings about the challenge of, as a tournament director, knowing how accurate somebody's rating is, and it's not always easy. People, get frustrated if they're in the wrong bracket or whatever. Certainly you should take it up with the tournament director as early as you possibly can, to see about getting moved. Getting angry about something like that doesn't really help much. The tournament directors are going to do everything they can to help you out and get you in the right spot. But again, you have to remember that, like you, Bud, with that kind of reliability, there's no telling. You could be a 3-0 player, you could be a 3-5 player, and you could be a 4-0 player who just played in tournaments in a long time. So that's something a tournament director cannot guess and know. And again, communicating with every single solitary person who signs up for a tournament is a little bit unrealistic. But looking up the reliability on those scores can be very helpful to tournament directors. You can at least check as many people as you can. and you know, battle through the rest and try to communicate with them to find out exactly where they should be. So,
And y'all, every bracket that a tournament director puts together from now till the end of time and from now back in the past, you throw a bracket together with 8 teams for a tournament next Saturday, in men's doubles or whatever it is. For that particular tournament, you're going to have, once it shakes out, teams that perform poorly, teams that were middle of the pack, and you're going to have a team or two that was the cream of the crop. So it's kind of on people also to look at, okay, what is your rating? What is my duper rating? Was I in over my head in that last tournament by playing 4-0? Okay, so maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have played 3-5. Or if your rating won't let you play down in 3-5, maybe you need to get out there and work at your game and try to garner a better player to stand beside you to be able to compete at that level. You can't just blame everything on duper, which is kind of what some people want to do, especially once you're to me, from what I've seen, once that reliability rating gets up above about 90%, whatever your rating is, it's kind of telling you what you are. Now, you're talking about sandbagging, Ken. There's also some people out there that'll watch that duper rating like a hawk, and they won't they don't want scores put in when they lost. To me, that kind of defeats the purpose. I don't want to be something that I'm not. You are. We say it all the time. You are what you are. So anytime somebody, as long as I know it was a duper match, then I'm good with, hey, we're going to play it. Whatever the results are, you put those results in. You send me an email. As long as I knew we were playing a duper match, I'm going to okay that. But I think some people are not that. What's the word? They're not that coming forward with that. They want to stay away from those losses. Well, that kind of, to me, gives you an inaccurate duper rating. I mean, I wouldn't be scared to go out on the court with anybody and play, as long as I know that it's a duper match beforehand.
When you talk about, earlier in this conversation, we talked about 2 types of people: the non-competitive people that are having fun playing pickleball. God bless them. We need them in the sport, and maybe one day they'll want to be a competitive player. But just talk about the competitive players. Anybody who ever wants to sign up for a tournament, in my opinion, I think everybody should be listed under duper or whatever the universal rating system is, because I don't care if you don't ever look at your duper, but it's going to give a tournament director, a ladder league organizer, even you just going out to play rec play in some kind of organized fashion, at least other people will go, oh, hey, look, this guy's a 4-0 or 4-5 or 3-5. And, you'll be playing with people. The best games, I think, for the most part, is when we're playing with people that are right around our ability. And I just think that's such a helpful tool, even if you don't care about it. But if you want to play competitive, sign up with duper, sign up with everybody else, and go ahead and get some kind of let your rating just establish itself on its own, even if it's behind the scenes.
absolutely. I mean, and your skills, your skill level is pretty much determined by that along the way. And by rushing through and wanting to jump from 3-0 to 4-0, if you're really not ready to be there, you potentially could be missing out on developing some skills that are going to help you to be a much more successful 4-0 player when you get there. So it's like you said earlier, Ken, patience. And I think patience is very important in this process, and patience with yourself and patience with developing those skills that are, going to be solid when you're ready to move up. You'll have confidence that you can get in there and do it.
Vicki, you're right on. In my case, The reason my duper rating is so low is the last tournament I played in, I played up in a bracket that I probably shouldn't have, and I got smoked.
Mm.
I mean, it was bad. I don't think I scored more than 2 points in the 5 matches that I played on the day of the tournament. And I went from a 3-9 to a 2-9. That's how it, and it mostly was my fault because I thought I could play at a higher level than I really should have at that time. Now, I think I could go back and play at that level now, but that's after, a year of pretty intense improvement, or at least attempted improvement on my part. So I think you just have to be really careful and be honest with yourself,
Mhm.
when you enter a tournament until you do establish a good, reliable rating.
I agree. And again, I do believe in pushing yourself when you're ready to do that. And sometimes you never know if you're a good, solid 3-5 player and you want to play in 4-0, do it. Challenge yourself, go after it. We've all talked about this a lot, but if you're not ready for it or you don't feel ready for it, boy, there's nothing more discouraging than getting into something like that and getting smoked. It's just
Yeah,
it is not encouraging at all.
no,
You learn a lot though.
Well, the old adage, your rating is what you are, as long as that reliability is up there and you're playing a lot of matches. I think sometimes as players, we may think that, we think that we're better than we really are for the most part. And sometimes it comes that we had a good day or we had one good game or we were partnered with somebody who was really good, and we beat two really good players. And so now I think, hey, I belong with those players, but yet I really don't have the skill set to compete with them on a day in and day out basis. So, don't if your rating is not what you think it is, well, maybe you really are what your rating is. As long as that reliability's up and you're getting a lot of matches in.
Yeah. I mean,
that's another good point, Ken. On rec play days out at Pelican Park, I can play with 4.0s or higher. I can play. But in a tournament, realistically, I probably should be playing in a 3-5 to 4.0 level. I'm really not competitive enough in a tournament situation to play at that level, but it helps my game.
The flip side of that, y'all, one of the things about pickleball, like you said, Ken, you go out and have a good day. It's kind of empowering and it feels good. But you might have been standing beside a really good player that day that helped elevate your game.
Yeah.
What difference does it make if you walked away from the courts feeling good that day? I think that's the neat thing about pickleball. Everybody thinks they got a shot. I just need a better player.
Yeah.
I just need to work on this or that. It's the allure of pickleball. It does it for most people. It makes you feel good about yourself. So yeah, sometimes we probably
well,
think we're better than what we are, but hey, maybe it's okay to feel like that sometimes.
Well,
I'm
so
confident.
in my opinion, anybody who wants to play anything competitive, tournaments, ladder leagues, any kind of socials that or are looking at keeping people in similar skill sets or ratings, get a duper rating, sign up for everything that you can get a rating, but just don't worry about what your number is. Your number will be what your results, the data from your results will create your rating.
Yep.
And if you think it needs to be higher, then work on your skills, drill a little bit, find some better players to play with and learn from them. Your rating may be higher than what you thought it would be. And it's like, hey, I'm really better than I thought I would be from a rating standpoint. But I'm all for a universal rating system for competitive players. And I think anybody who gets in a tournament should have at least in this year and day, should have a duper rating.
Well, I think if a rating is important to you and you're going to play in tournaments, you have to do it a lot.
Yeah.
You can't just, in my case, I don't play that many tournaments, at least that duper rate, that I get a duper rating from. So I have no excuse for my lower rating. It's just I don't play. So if it's that important to me, then I'll start, and it is, and I'm going to start playing in more tournaments. That's my goal for 2025.
Well, the other thing for you, Bud, is when we get out there, when you go to rec play, get with a few people, like the four of us, we could say, hey, y'all, let's play a duper match today.
Mm-hmm.
And we play it. Divide us up however you want. Me and Vic versus you and Ken. Me and you versus Ken and Vicky. Play a duper match. And all of us know, hey, this is going to go in duper. I like doing that because it adds a little boost to rec play. It's not quite like a tournament, but hey, there's a little something on the line. So let's get out there and get after it and let the dust settle. We all agree to it. And start getting you some for a player like you. Start getting some results in where you can start getting your duper leveled out and get that reliability rating up.
Well, I also think what's happening, and the trend is going more toward tournaments automatically reporting to duper. Right now, there's not a, I don't want to say disconnect, but right now it's kind of hard for some of these little local tournaments to force duper, because the software that they use to collect and run the tournament isn't integrated into duper. But that's changing. Global Pickleball Network, pickleball brackets, pickleball tournaments. More people are using this software, even Swish.
Yep.
And I think you're going to see more and more that you have to at least have a duper account, and that's all. You don't worry about your number, just have a duper account, so that when you register, you put your duper ID or link it to your duper account, and that's gonna affect more people's duper rating, and they're going to be more accurate because there's going to be more data and more results.
Yep, I played in 2 tournaments at Stacks and Baton Rouge in the last 2 to 3 weeks, and at the end of the tournament, those results, the guys that run the tournaments there, they go right on into duper, and they're listed. And I'm good. I'm not good. Sometimes I'm really bad on the court. I'm good sometimes, but they get turned in, and my duper just does what it does.
It does what it does. It is what it is.
Yeah. And we've talked a little bit about this earlier today. You might have some young kids that are kids in their 20s, very athletic, okay? And they get out on the court and they're just starting off, but they might be thinking, hey, I'm 3.0 or 3.5, or their duper might be 3.0 or 3.5, but they're very athletic and get a lot of balls back and just make a lot of plays because they can hit the ball hard and fast and all of that. So athletically, they might ascend to the 4.0 level really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that kind of player. Then there's another kind of player that's been coming up through the ranks that's working on his game. He may not be as fast and as quick as they are, but he's got all the shots, at the 4.0 level. He's still a 4.0 player, but those two players are very different. They're both 4.0 players, in my opinion. One athletically can cover up a lot of mistakes. The other one, not quite as athletic, but has, good shots, good resets, has a good dink game. So you got to factor that in too. Because I hear a lot of people talk about, well, we played in 4.0, but we lost to those youngins. Well, maybe you should have tried to slow them down some, work on your skills at slowing the ball down some. So I'm just kind of making the point that there's different types of 4.0 type players. And sometimes those players ascend up the ladder before they've gotten a lot of duper matches in, and you end up against them in a tournament. Well, heck, they're ascending. So you can't really fault them, for a tournament director for putting them in your bracket. They were players that were on the rise. So there's just a lot of factors that can go into it that, it I don't think there's any system out there that would be perfect. But with what we've seen, I think Duper, crosses checks a lot of those boxes for trying to get some sort of system to figure out what people are.
I agree.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about Duper too is it has a broad spectrum of the type of play that you could turn in for Duper scoring. A lot of them, like Swish. The only time you're going to get anything out of Swish is if you're in a Swish tournament.
Right.
Whereas, as you just said a while ago, Jeff, the four of us could go out at Pelican Park and play a couple of games, and we could turn those scores into Duper. Now, they don't count as high as if you're playing in a tournament because they're weighted. That's weighted, but still, it's a way to get your rating, your reliability up.
Yeah, and can help your rating too. But
Yeah.
you've got to give them kudos. They're working hard at getting their system integrated. And that's the part of the thing that sometimes is hard for people to understand. And I was glad Ken brought that out because that did pop in my mind too, that, there's so many different ways of running a tournament that then it becomes so tedious to try to enter all of the scores. And you think about it, you've got to enter it for every person, for every match that they play that day. It would take hours and hours and hours to make that happen. So they're working very hard.
You can't enter if somebody doesn't have a Duper account. You can't enter those scores.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. We found that when we had the Duper Day at Pickleball, or at Pelican Park, rather.
Yeah.
People
I'll
have
tell you what, the one thing I'm all in favor of, and I think we need to do more of, is have a Duper night at whatever facility, Pelican Park.
Yeah.
And anybody who wants to play a Duper match, come on out, and you just mix and match. And that night, you get whatever it is, 4, 8, 12 people, and you just you could have some algorithm where everybody plays with a certain partner against a certain set of opponents, and then all those scores are going to be recorded. So I think that would be a fun evening.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I think people would appreciate having something like that to help them build their scores.
Yeah, and then people that are interested in Duper can come get in that mix and start getting you some results in there.
Absolutely.
Well, crew, that was a great discussion on Duper and rating systems in general. But now it's time.
Hey, Bud, I've got a shout out. Okay, Bud. As you know, and I don't know about many of our viewers out there, but we are having a big snow day here in South Louisiana. It is amazing. I don't think I've ever seen this much snow in South Louisiana, and it's actually continuing to snow. It's amazing. We probably have at least 4 inches, but on a day like today, for us outdoor players, we do get a little stir crazy. And my husband, he just takes care of business. He knows when to get out there and practice, even though it's a snow day. So we got a little clip for you on his great idea of practicing our dinks today.
All right, if you're not drilling, you're not willing.
Okay, well, that was it. Everybody have a great day. And back to you, Bud.
All right, Vicki, thanks for that shout out. Hot off the press, it's time for Ken's tournament previews.
All right, thanks, Bud. Here we go. Let's see, February 11th through 13th, Pickleball and Foley Event Center, Foley, Alabama. Go to pickleballtournaments.com. We'll put the URL on the screen. Registration closes February 2nd, It's $75 for one or more events. Going to March 7th through 9th of 2025 is the Graywood Spring Pickleball Tournament in Lake Charles, Louisiana. We'll put the long URL at the bottom of the screen, but you go to pickleballtournaments.com. Registration closes February 26th. It's $65 for 2 events. March 8th and 9th of 2025 is the Shamrock Showdown at Pelican Park in Mandeville, Louisiana. We'll put the URL at the bottom of the screen. It's the Pelican Park Rec Desk. Then once you get to that link, go to events, registration, special events, and pickleball. Each event is $30, whether you play gender doubles or mixed doubles. March 14th through 16th, this is the first annual Camellia Classic at John Slidell Park in Slidell, Louisiana. We do not yet have a URL to register for that. As soon as we get more information, we'll let you know. The same weekend, March 15th, 16th, is the 2025 Mississippi Senior Games. This will be at the Pickler. The last few years, they've been at the Pops Ferry Outdoor Park. This will be at the Pickler in Biloxi, Mississippi. We have 2 URLs we'll put at the bottom of the screen. You can either go to msseniorgames.com or you can go to pickleballtournaments.com. Registration is now open and it's $25 to sign up. March 21st through 23rd, Pickle in the Dell in Slidell, Louisiana. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration will close on March 18th. It's $65 for 3 events. Okay, March 22nd, 23rd, Battle at the Beach in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Go to pickleballtournaments.com to register. We'll put the long URL at the bottom of the screen. Registration is open now. It's $60 until January 31st. Then it jumps up to $70. March 27th through 30th is the Alabama Open in Clay, Alabama. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration is open and it will close on March 13th. And a couple of more here. April 4th through 6th. This is the PPA Challenger Series at Stacks Pickleball in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We're going to have really some of the pros playing at this as well as amateurs. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. Registration closes March 28th. It's $70 to get in this tournament. April 11th through 13th is the Hattiesburg Pickleball Classic at the Willis Terry Tennis Complex in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We're going to put the URL at the bottom of the screen. It's a long URL, but you go to pickleballsignup.com and search for the Hattiesburg Pickleball Classic. Registration will close on April 1st. It's $60 per event. Finally, April 12th, 13th, this is the NOLA Amateur Open at the Exchange. Go to pickleballtournaments.com, search for NOLA Amateur Open. Registration is now open. It's $75 per event. Anyway, that's it for Pickleball Tournament Preview. Right now, we're coming into a lot of tournaments. Get out there and play. And that's it for Tournament Preview, bud. Back to you.
All right, Ken, thanks for those previews. And now, if nobody has anything else, I think it's time to say goodnight. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hey, from the Pickleball crew, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Well, that's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave any comments and please like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again and see you next week.